All right, since yesterday's video went so well for LunchHammer40K, and I'm going ahead and doing another, and by it goes so well, I mean, it cut out really quick and awkwardly at the end. So most of y'all already know that I'm a parent, and like all parents, my phone is the photo album. Now, some of y'all are older like me, and y'all probably remember back in the day when we had the big binders with all the photos and the plastic, and you had to print them all out, and you always had to go to the store and drop off the photos and wait for them to be developed, and unless y'all were lucky and you had a Polaroid, and then, you know, there came the instant cameras, and then we moved to the digital cameras. And so now I think the primary purpose of a phone, besides social media, is its features as a camera, as I'm using mine now for this, or for taking photos of your kids. And when you take a photo of your kid, of course you take like 5 to 10 photos, so that way you make sure you get a good one to send to the grandparents. So the memory on my phone is forever like right at the key point, and yesterday it just kind of pushed over that limit, so it just decided to stop recording. But fortunately, it was at a good point, and I removed some apps and a few other photos that weren't of my children, so go ahead and make space. So we're back, and better than ever. So things are going really well, and as you can hopefully see, the miniatures are coming along. I had to put on my gray jacket when I realized that I am almost similar color to the robes, but this, doing the white base really caused the royal cloak to pop on the cloak. At first it went on a little soft and I was a little upset, but then if you notice, like, just the shine and shimmer of it, it's just so good. And then I had to change my plan. Never be scared to change your painting plan, by the way. So what I wanted to do was, like I said, I wanted to create a bronze statue with patina feel on it, right? So it looks like an ancient bronze mechanism that's walking back into life. So the base coat was the Rune Lord brass, or sorry, not by bronze, I'm saying bronze, I mean brass. The base coat was Rune Lord brass, and then I added the Sotek green, which is almost blue, and then the Coelia nightshade, and then did the white undercoat for the cloaks, and then the royal cloak on top of that. And then I had intended to go back with Kraken Green by Army Painter to kind of touch up the body and make it a little bit more green, but the Sotek and the Nightshade had done a good enough job on it that the Kraken Green was actually not adding to it, it was detracting. So I bailed on that plan and just touched it up with brass by Vallejo, who makes really good paints. And so we did a good dry brushing over all of the body and the backpack with brass. And then I used the Citadel Technical paint of Astrogranite Debris, which I saw War Hipster use for his scheme, and it looked so amazing when he was using it. It like was bunching up perfectly, looked like rocks, and on mine it ran and it looks like asphalt. So not entirely the look I was going for, but not bad. I mean, it still looks nice. You still got a textured look. I've asked for advice from a few of the pros on what's the best way to get the most mileage out of this. But on the Sniper one, I've gone ahead and just added a small couple sections where I've doubled it up just to see if that dries kind of with a little bit more height, but it has good texture. And what I'm going to be doing today for LunchHammer40K is painting that purple, because I love purple. And the majority of the Adeptus Mechanicus that I keep seeing are on almost all red bases, desert type of bases, because, you know, the whole Mars connection makes sense. But mine, I want roaming far afield in the galaxy, and, you know, in this great universe that we live in, this galaxy that we live in, and there has to be a planet that has purple for grass and rocks. So my goal is to kind of give it that little alien feel, and I think it's going to go good with the overall look, and it might not. It might be awful. So we're about to see, because we're about to actually do that. So I'm using Citadel's Venetian purple, because it's a really nice purple, and purple sometimes it can be a bit unforgiving when you try to paint it on the mini. So I haven't used it as much as I want to, because it's one of my favorite colors. Next painting competition I get into, oh yeah, if you've just been following my YouTube, you probably don't know I entered in a painting competition for minis not too long ago, because I hadn't shared that here. But regardless, next, what I did in that painting competition, as it bears upon what I'm saying right now, is I pushed myself. I love yellow Space Marines. I think it's just big, bold, and hey, I'm here, let's do war. No hiding if you're a bright yellow one, unless you're in a field of like yellow flowers, I guess. But I love yellow Space Marines, and I've always had a hard time capturing the colors properly. It just has not worked for me, and it keeps just looking bad. So, but I really wanted to do a yellow Space Marine. So I decided in a painting competition where you're painting a Primaris Marine, to just paint my Space Marine yellow. I was just gonna go ahead and just do it. And if it was awful, it's okay. I wasn't planning on winning the paint competition anyways, because I'm not that great of a painter. But I have fun. And so I went to enter that competition. I painted it yellow, and I debated following an Imperial Fist scheme, going ahead and doing like black for the highlights and all that. And I changed my mind. I did kind of like a charcoal gray for the highlights, and then from the charcoal gray, maybe not bad. We'll see. From the charcoal gray, I did a purple for the angel wings on the Astartes chest, because purple's just such a great color. And did purple eye lenses, of course. And while I did not win, and I did not place first, second, or third in that competition, it was hosted by one of my local hobby stores, Gamer Geeks, out in Warrior, Alabama, which is a really good hobby store. I really like them a lot. They're doing a lot of good for the community. So that advertisement's free of charge. The competition, mine still looked good with all the others, and there were a bunch of people who entered in, and mine ended up looking really good, if I don't say so myself, and I do. And it taught me a lot about painting with yellow, so maybe the next one we have, I'm going to paint it purple and just make a purple Space Marine. And we'll delete any comments that talk about it being like a purple dinosaur. Nah, no biggie. The other thing is the competition had a kit bashing competition, and if you've been following me on my social medias, you know I love me a good kit bash. Kit bashing is just so much fun. That's one reason why I had such a hard time settling on a faction, because I love taking bits and pieces from different kits and mixing them all together to get different results instead of just following the instructions on how to build things. So I think I do a better job kit bashing than I do painting. But I digress. The kit bashing competition, I decided I painted that. The goal was you got a Primaris Marine, you painted them normal, right? That was part one of the competition. Built them normal, painted them normal. And then the next part was the kit bash part, where it's like, just here's a Primaris Marine, let your imagination run wild. So I had been considering doing I'm liking it. It's an interesting color scheme comparison. I've been considering doing a similar build or a homage to something a friend on Instagram, Morose.Miniatures, had done, where they were just showing how the craziness of war, the horror of war, and they had built an Astartes who was hanging his head and holding down his gun and just sitting on the ruins of a wall while child play toys were nearby, kind of showing the aftermath and devastation of war. And that mini stuck with me. It was superbly done. If you want to see like kit bashes that are just amazing, go to Morose.Miniatures. I'll try and link to both Gamer Geeks and to Morose.Miniatures in the YouTube details. I'm getting better about doing that. But they had shared that, and it stuck with me, and I just was thinking, you know, that actually is a really good theme, because that's one key aspect of military sci-fi that I've always enjoyed when I've been reading it, is the cost of war on the soul and the toll it takes on those who are in it. And Astartes, even though they know no fear, it doesn't say that they don't know pain, and they don't know regret, and they don't know the agony of being trapped in endless war. I mean, their existence is war for hundreds of years if they live, and if they don't, then they don't, and it's just war, right? The whole grimdark thing. So I wanted to show that even angels weep, and I took the Primaris and broke it and put it on its knees, sitting there with head in hand, just broken from all the devastation of war. It's some of my best work, and unfortunately that one didn't win. I also painted that one yellow. That one didn't win, but it did place in second place in the competition. Now, it tied in second place. I think the one that it tied in second with, I told my wife that if that one wins, I couldn't be bitter. So I definitely wasn't bitter about tying in second with it, because whoever made it took the Space Marine, dressed it up in beach clothes, and gave it a super soaker, complete with like goggles, and it killed me. It killed me. I was laughing so hard when I saw it. First off, they did a great job. Like, it is an awesome kit bash. But then secondly, a super soaker with the Space Marine at the beach. They even had a little pink umbrella with it. It was great. So, like, hats off. Good job, whoever did that. I was greatly impressed. But yeah, thank you for joining me for this Lunchhammer episode. Couple interesting things I've learned, because this squad is almost done. This squad is Skitarii, which I'm super excited about. And I'm sure later in life I'll know more about painting minis, and I'll go back and see things that I definitely did wrong and areas where I could improve and touch up, and I might even be skilled enough to touch up what I've created here. But there's just something cool about almost having this one finished that I'm really thrilled. Not trying to necessarily rush to the end, but I want to have it completed, so I actually have a squad of the army that I want to build, built, based, and painted and schemed. Now I still need to go back and do the ribbons on these guys, which I'm thinking I'm going to do Sotek green for the ribbons to get them to stand out against the cloak, because almost every one of these has like a little ribbon upon them. Some have a couple ones. They're hard to see because in some cases I painted over it with the royal cloak. Others I left white. You know, it's part of the process, going at it full speed ahead. But the those I'll probably go back and just do with the Sotek green to make them stand out against the royal cloak. Then I still need to do the eyes and lenses, because there are other lenses that they have here. I'm intending to do those purple. I may use this shade of purple, or I might go with the Vallejo blue violet, which is purple. And yeah, I think I might just use the Venetian because it's such a bright one, so I may stick with that. Something cool about the ground and their eyes matching, probably. And then just kind of touch up. There's a few places where the brass went over onto the cloaks where I could get that off, or there's a few places here where like the paint went on his foot that you're not going to see unless you're picking up the mini, but if you just catch it in a glance, it might just throw off the effect. So once everything dries, you can go back and make little corrections. That's the joy. And then, like I said, even in a couple of years after doing this, you might be more skilled than you were when you started, and you can go back and change what you did. Either clean off all the paints and repaint it, or paint over, or just go and add some details, give it a glow up. I've seen a lot of that happening lately on Instagram because people are taking their early minis that they painted and giving them little glow ups, which is very cool. Yeah. But yeah, nothing says that you can't do something like that. It is your creation, your invention, your time, and your hobby and your interests. So you get to hobby how you want to hobby. That is the fun of it. But yeah, this has been an amazing adventure for me, where I have just really gotten a lot out of it and learned a lot in the process. And actually taking a squad and doing batch painting has been really good for me. So the biggest thing was I was just so hesitant to pull the trigger on most color schemes. So it was really good to spend some time. What I did was I created a saved folder for my Instagram account, and I just kept, whenever I came across different AdMech photos, I would just save it to that folder and just start trying to get inspiration from them and trying to learn and be like, okay, this is cool. Okay, they did this cool. Okay, this looks really cool. Okay, nope, this part sucked. You know, internal monologue. That's not. I wouldn't tell someone else that their stuff sucked, because realistically, their stuff is probably better than mine. Objectively, but you know, just doesn't work for me. And so I got to see lots of different styles and lots of different ways to paint red, and nothing wrong with red. There were a lot of good red recipes, and there is something iconic about a Skitarii with a red cloak marching on red desert, and there will always be room for that at the table. Just wasn't what I wanted for mine. So but the difficult thing is in the faction for Adeptus Mechanicus, the benefits of taking Mars and painting stuff red is really high. There's very great motivation for doing that. Horatio. Because the Forge world that you're from actually changes the capabilities of your army. So that's always something when you're considering a faction. It really pays to get that codex and read it and learn it, and also just go hit the internet and search, because there's always tons of articles out there by people who have played them, like their thoughts on them, their experiences with them. Or talk to local gamers who may have used them, and just get some feedback and learn, because how you build them and how you paint them actually matters. It really does. That's one of the cool things about Warhammer 40K. Everything on these minis matters. It's really cool to me. Which reminds me, I keep, if you've been following all the photos, I keep focusing on Horatio and sharing them. That's the one of this Skitarii that I've actually named so far. I don't know how many of the others I'm going to actively give names to are just binary numbers. I thought Horatio was good enough because that one, for the most part, could be spelled out with very machine-like lettering. But Horatio is Horatio. This is the first Skitarii that I actually built when I decided to go ahead and do the faction. And so Horatio has been instrumental in all the pictures and all that I've done. When I was building Horatio, I had to take a huge pause to decide what to equip him with, or equip them with, because, I mean, hey, it's all binary and non-binary for Skitarii. So I was looking to equip Horatio, and I had to pause and do research on the internet to find out what all of the things did, because I didn't yet have the Codex book. So I was sitting there trying to find out the difference between data tethers and ornispecs, omnispecs, all these weird sci-fi words. But since they were going to be for Skitarii Rangers, it seemed that the omnispecs would be best, as that helps eliminate light cover from people trying to fire, so you have better view with your fires, with your guys shooting, sniping, whereas data tether seems like it would be better for the Vanguard, since I can just plant the Skitarii Marshal with them right there to be able to get the instructions, and Vanguard's going to be charging off to go do battle. Yeah, it just seemed a better fit. And then once I build it, it's just like, man, looks like Hamlet sitting there holding the skull for Alas Poor Yorick Horatio. I knew him. But I didn't want to name him Hamlet. I didn't want to name them Yorick. So I was like, oh, your name will be Horatio. And it stuck. So that also has given a focal point through each step here, where instead of just showing the squad, I've been able in my Instagram stories just to be like, and here's Horatio, and here's Horatio. So it just kind of breaks it down. And I think that's a good thing might be a good trick for you when you're working it, because things look different squad level versus individual level. And sometimes the squad might look a little messy, but altogether they look really good. And you might have one or two like really standout ones that you focus more on, like Horatio, where you just take a little bit more time with the detailing and all that, because it's just kind of like a centerpiece for you, or a focal piece. But when you're doing your squad, you got to realize, even if you're making a couple little mistakes here or there, it's okay, because people are looking at the entire squad. And you look at a group of things differently than you do just one thing. So when you're working on a squad or an army, it's okay if maybe something doesn't quite fit individually, but overall, if it works with the uniform and the uniformity of it, then that might really be something to help set stuff out for you. And this one's going to take a bit. One thing you can't be is the correct tool for the correct need. So this mini has quite a huge base, so I'm going to go ahead and use a bigger brush. Still saying purple, but going on much faster. And then when I get to his feet, I'll probably switch back to the smaller brush, because then you're dealing with a little bit more detail. Trying to get around those tiny Skitarii feet. I do not have small feet myself, so that is quite the feat to know how to paint small feet. Let's see here. I managed to get purple paint on my holding fingers. So this one might have to take a couple go rounds to get it all on there. And that's okay. Everything's a learning process. When you finally sit down to do something like this, you realize things that you would do differently while you're doing it. With each kit bashed mini that I've made, I've looked later and realized something that I wish I would have done differently within the process. And that switched back over to smaller to go do his area around the feet. Because the feet are petite. The learning process when you're sitting there and it's like, oh, well, here's what I do differently next time. Here's what I'll do differently next time. It greatly benefits you because that's how you finally get to put that theory to test and learn. So, oops, got a spot of purple on his robe, which could be like dirt flying up from the alien floor, maybe. Might end up keeping it. Who knows? Okay. Let's see. Let's get a little bit more purple where my fingers were on that base. I'm so right-handed, y'all. This is... I'm painting with my left hand. Okay. That's a lot of purple on these minis right now. It's really cool. Again, we use the Citadel base paint, Venetian purple, which is a really nice shade of purple. I think they call it Venetian purple probably because of the Venetian fulcrum of the Emperor's Children. But let me lift you up here and you can take a look at the purple. And we'll set you back down there to go ahead and say that thank you for joining for this session of LunchHammer. Now the fun part is waiting for the paint to dry and seeing how that looks once it's dried. I'll upload to more photos to Instagram so that way y'all can take a look at it there. I think it's looking really good. I really do think that the purple worked out well. I'm happy with that. Last couple details I'm going to need to do on them is, of course, like I said, picking out the ribbons, doing their eye lenses, and the other lenses, like on Horatio or on their little backpacks. We'll do that and then just touch up maybe a few details. But this squad is almost finished, y'all, and this excites me greatly. I have had the goal of creating an Adeptus Mechanicus force, and this gives me a paint scheme and a start of fully built and painted minis that could, in theory, go into a tournament. So I'm trying to set up some combat patrol games with some local gamers here that I've connected with through that paint competition I entered into. So you never know what might happen if you enter into a paint competition, even if you are not an excellent painter. You know, just have fun. Just have fun. This is y'all's hobby. Enjoy it. I'm happy that you're sharing it with me, and like I've also seen some of the stuff that several people put together. They're just like, it's not my best work, and I look at it as better than my best work, and I'm just like, hey, yeah, you rock, keep on going. So you never know. Hop into it, join in, buy a couple minis, buy a couple paints and some paint brushes, watch some tutorials. But the best thing you could do is just give it a go. If it's bad, you could try again. Very few people are experts the very first time that they do anything. And something one person pointed out to me, it can be really hard because we compare ourselves to the experts that are out there rather than the amateurs like me. So, you know, realize that you're in a journey. You're not in a sprint. It's a marathon. You're the person who's running in competition with yourself. You're not in competition with the best painters out there. Unless you're in a paint competition, then you are in competition with the best painters out there, and you may not win. But you can put forward the best job that you yourself have ever done. And then even if you don't place, you can still take the pride that you did it. Okay, that's enough for the pep talk for today. We'll go ahead and bring this one to a close. It ended up running longer than I expected, but I wanted to go ahead and just kind of show you an entire paint session. Where we got the purple bases done. I am so excited. It looks really good. Just take a look at Horatio. That's so All right. Peace out. Thank you for watching, viewing, liking, subscribing, all that fun stuff. And yeah, we'll see you again.